Everyone said it would never happen. Everyone said the regulators would kill it. Everyone said the power would be too concentrated, the influence too dangerous, the consequences too big. And yet, Netflix just agreed to an $82.7 billion deal to acquire Warner Bros. This isn't just another Hollywood merger. This is a seismic shift that could permanently change how movies are made, how stories are told, and who controls the future of entertainment. Because if this deal survives, Netflix doesn't just become a streaming platform anymore. It becomes Hollywood itself. Right now, behind closed doors, executives, regulators, politicians, unions, and billionaires are all pulling on different ends of the same rope. And the question everyone is asking is simple. Is this the smartest move in media history, or the most dangerous consolidation Hollywood has ever seen? Let's break down what's really happening. At the center of this storm is Netflix, the company that disrupted cable, rewrote distribution rules, and trained an entire generation to binge-watch instead of wait. Netflix has spent years being labeled the outsider, the tech company pretending to be a studio. Now with this deal, Netflix is saying something very different. We're not pretending anymore. By agreeing to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery in a deal valued at $82.7 billion, Netflix is positioning itself as a full-scale entertainment empire. One that controls franchises, studios, legacy IP, streaming dominance, and global distribution under one roof. Warner Bros. Is not just another content library. It's Batman, Harry Potter, DC, HBO, CNN, decades of cinematic history, and Netflix wants all of it. Supporters of the deal argue that the fears are overblown. They point to the data. They point to charts from Nielsen. They say even if Netflix and Warner Bros. Merge, the combined US TV viewing share would only be about 9.2%. 9%. Not exactly world domination. They argue that YouTube still dwarfs everyone. Disney still has enormous reach. Linear television still exists. Gaming, social media, live sports, all competing for attention. From this angle, the merger looks almost reasonable. But critics say that argument is dangerously misleading, because the real issue isn't all entertainment. It's streaming. And streaming is the only part of the entertainment industry that's actually growing. When you narrow the lens to streaming alone, the picture changes dramatically. Netflix and HBO combined represent more than half of all global streaming subscribers. More than half of the revenue. More than half of the content budget. Bigger than everyone else combined. That's when the alarm bells start ringing. One analyst compared it to Amazon and Walmart merging and then claiming they're not too powerful because people also spend money on cars, houses, and vacations. That argument wouldn't survive 5 minutes with regulators. And neither might this deal. Because regulators don't care about hypotheticals. They care about market dominance. And in streaming, Netflix is already number one. Buying Warner Bros. Isn't just expansion. It's consolidation on a scale that governments around the world have been aggressively trying to stop. The US Federal Trade Commission, the Department of Justice, the European Union's competition regulators, the UK's CMA. All of them would have a say. And according to critics, there is no chance this deal survives that scrutiny. No chance. But the drama doesn't stop there. Because Netflix isn't the only bidder circling Warner Bros., another player has entered the fight, Paramount-Skydance, with an all-cash offer valued at $108 billion. That's not a rounding error. That's $25 billion more than Netflix's deal. And money talks. Warner Bros. Discovery's board has recommended rejecting that offer, claiming there are concerns about whether the financing can actually be fulfilled. Questions about investors. Questions about commitments. Questions about whether the money truly exists. But critics aren't convinced. They argue that if you're a shareholder, $108 billion beats $82.7 billion every single time. This isn't advanced math. It's basic arithmetic, which raises an uncomfortable question. Is Warner Bros. Rejecting a better offer? Because Netflix's deal is strategically safer for leadership, even if it's not financially better for shareholders? That question could decide lawsuits. It could decide votes. And it could decide whether this deal ever reaches the finish line. Then there's the human factor. Hollywood talent hates consolidation. Actors, directors, writers, producers, unions. They don't want fewer studios. They don't want fewer buyers. They don't want fewer negotiating options. Netflix already has a reputation for shortening theatrical windows, releasing films for a brief time in theaters, then pulling them quickly to streaming. That model has consequences. Box office success is how actors increase their value. It's how careers are built. It's how leverage is gained. When films go straight to streaming, those metrics disappear. That's why some of the biggest names in Hollywood have avoided Netflix for years. Not because of quality, not because of money, but because of control. Because if Netflix gains more power, especially by absorbing Warner Brothers, it doesn't just change the business. It changes the balance of power between creators and corporations. And that's when politics enters the room. Unions have influence. Lawmakers listen. And antitrust rhetoric resonates with voters. Some of the loudest voices against big tech consolidation already have Netflix on their radar. Add Warner Brothers to the equation, and the pressure multiplies. And then there's the wild card. Politics. Presidents don't usually decide mergers, but they influence the environment around them. Public statements, regulatory leadership, enforcement priorities, and in this case, politics could matter more than usual. Netflix leadership has known political affiliations. So do the competing bidders. And when billion-dollar deals collide with election year dynamics, logic doesn't always win. Power does, legacy does, and ego does. One thing is certain. This is no longer just a business story. It's a fight for the future of Hollywood. If Netflix wins, the industry changes forever. Studios become platforms. Distribution becomes ownership. The line between tech and entertainment disappears. If Netflix loses, it sends a message that there are limits, even for the most disruptive company in media history. Right now, the deal exists in a fragile state. Signed, announced, celebrated by some, but far from safe. Because every major force that could stop it is already paying attention. And the next move won't come from Netflix. It will come from regulators, shareholders, unions, and politicians, all deciding whether this is evolution or monopoly. So the real question isn't whether Netflix wants Warner Brothers. It's whether the world will let them have it. And that decision could reshape entertainment for generations to come. If you want more deep dive breakdowns like this, where power, money, and media collide, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications. Because this story is far from over. And here's the part that makes this story bigger than Netflix, bigger than Warner Bros., bigger than Hollywood itself. This deal forces us to ask a question most people aren't ready to confront yet. Do we want a future where one platform decides what gets made, who gets paid, and which stories reach the world? Or do we want competition, messy, inefficient, creative competition, to survive? Because if Netflix pulls this off, it won't just own content. It will own leverage, it will own distribution, and it will own the rules. And once those rules are rewritten, there's no going back. So now the future of movies, television, and storytelling doesn't sit with audiences anymore. It sits in boardrooms, courtrooms, and government offices. This deal will either become the blueprint for the next era of entertainment, or the cautionary tale that finally forces regulators to draw a line. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers is a brilliant evolution of entertainment, or a dangerous step toward monopoly? Should regulators block this deal, or let the free market decide? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit the like button. It tells YouTube this is worth sharing. Subscribe for more deep dives into power, money, and media. And turn on notifications because this story is far from finished, and the next chapter could drop at any moment. This isn't just a business deal. It's the future of Hollywood.